here it is, 2023, January 1. Whew. Let me first apologize if I look a little haggard. I feel a little haggard. I'm really feeling my age today. I got really no sleep last night. Not just for the bombs going off all over the place. Fireworks, of course. But a host of things. My nervous dog and so on and so forth. Just didn't sleep. Anyway, where we left Nichiren was with the final exile to Sado Island. As a matter of his identification with the Lotus Sutra and the characters within it, his place in Japan, in the nation, his place in his lifetime, his situation. We have a lot in common with him. Certainly we don't have samurai waiting at the door to behead us, but as far as the politic and the nation and the complete, what shall we say, programming of the populace as either consumerists or political pawns, there's a lot to see in commonality with the lifetime of Nichiren and his struggles, most especially with respect to Buddhist teachings. And now, although it's called the persecution or an exile or a lot of negative words around his, and it was a threat to his life. They basically expected him to go die in this shack. Nichiren was always able to command the respect of the laity, the common folk, you and I, right? We're not in special places of commanding billions of dollars in economic force or power, or maybe some of you are. But certainly in Nichiren's day, there was a big dividing line, because you either were the powerful elite who just ruled with impunity, thinking they were imbued and everybody else would just shut up and follow. Even the samurai were, though dedicated to their craft and used as a blunt instrument on the populace, had reasons to question the merits of their leadership, yeah? So in a way, his banishment to Sado Island provided Nichiren with a very introspective, kind of protected place. Not protected from the elements and the threat to his life, but because he was able to cull support from the villagers and the area lords and so forth. He was able to be fed, be supported, find students, followers, people who would be keen to hold this man's mission to support it, to make sure that his efforts did not go to an end. Not only because of Nichiren, his character, his scholarship, but because Buddhism, as we've said many times, splinter, has always had this thread of we could lose it. This isn't something that grows naturally out of flowers and trees. It's like air. We just expect it to be there. Buddhism, without fervent adherence to its core principles and propagating those core principles against the tides of politicians and power mongers who would dilute it. That's our greatest enemy, if you will. without our dedication to the fact, the truth, the correct transmission of it, it could easily be lost in a generation. And so here we are. In that very time that Shakyamuni predicted, there will come a time where this teaching could very well be lost. Not just lost as no Buddhism, but lost as in what passes for Buddhism is really the same old, magical, mystical, wishing, wanting, crying, atoning. One of the very first things he identified as that problem was this idea of an afterlife, a soul, right? Even Hindus have come around, even Hindus, others as well, Christianity and many other religions, have gone to the well of Buddhist teachings to pull rhetoric up and suit it, fit it to their argument for gods and afterlives and souls and what have you. Nichiren saw this in his day, and he absolutely wouldn't tolerate it. Well, there was a problem with tolerance altogether, wasn't there? But back to Sado. In this time, on Sado, Nichiren had, yet again, more time to really pull his thoughts together. Ask of himself, what does it mean to be in the position I find myself in? If I'm to take responsibility for the survival of Buddhism, the true teaching of Buddhism, what does that mean for me? How should I behave? How should I, more to the point, because of his last exile and coming back, remember he learned a great lesson, was that deep, profound appreciation for those to whom he was instructing, teaching. It wasn't this egotistical, I know more than you, listen to me. It was, oh my goodness, I understand the nature of the mission that I'm setting you on. Were you ready for this? I see this mission as what's the word? Indefatigable. Very obvious that this must be done. And I'm obviously in that position in Japan to be that person. But really what I'm asking of all of you students who are learning Lotus Sutra and the true meaning of Shakyamuni's teachings is to do as I do. I'm putting a lot on you. And he really considered that a lot. And now he's in Sado and he's thinking, okay, what does all of that mean? I understand my mission more and more. I understand how much I'm putting on people. And we see in his Gosho that a lot of his teaching was about, especially the samurai, please be careful. You're raising the ire of those around you. Watch for your health. Watch for your safety. Watch for the safety of those that you have in your fiefdom, in your family, in your others, right? A lot of concern from Nichiren on that account because of the degree to which he understood the mission of practicing Buddhism correctly would always get attention from one's environs because the environs are being asked to change. They're being influenced by our very own mission of enlightenment, yeah? Namo Myo Renge Kyo. Best to chant every day. Best to recite the key aspects of the teaching, the Myoho Renge Kyo, the Lotus Sutra, as often and as clearly as possible. Just for our own survival on every level, because of the import of our practice to our environment. If we're to be safe, then we need to condition that environment to pull safety toward us. And if we're lackadaisical about our practice, we really put ourselves in danger. Certainly in Nichiren's view. I feel that way. We all will feel our own ways about that, but this is the structure of the practice. And now Nichiren is really cerebrating on this and thinking, as we continue this chapter, our author begins, for this ultimate revelation, he had to prepare the way. Just as the revelation of the Tathagata's infinite life, chapter 16, infinite, the duration of the lifespan of the Tathagata, but this author uses infinite. Anyway, had been preceded by the issuing of innumerable hosts of the primeval disciples, right? Before the 16th chapter, we read about the grand audience, you and I, all of it, right? These preparations consisted of a concise exposition of his doctrines. Okay, let me get this down perfectly for myself as well as all my students, what I'm doing here, and of a critical estimate of the relative values of various religious and ethical systems. Let's not only define what my doctrine is, Nichiren, of Shakyamuni's teachings of the Lotus Sutra, but let's also identify how that differs with what's currently being sold as Buddha's teachings or non-Buddhist teachings. What's the environment that we're situated in to perform this mission? The exposition is contained in an essay titled, and the titles will differ from this guy's, but The Heritage of the Soul, Great Thing Concerning Life and Death. The great thing? Okay. I think that the title is something about the heritage of the true law, or the heritage of the law of Buddhahood, or Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, or the Lotus Sutra, yeah? Together with a cognate essay on, quote, the oral instruction for the attainment of Buddhahood by trees and grasses. That's similar enough. The enlightenment of our environment. After this, in the same month, was finished the opening of the eyes. Now that one everybody pretty much names the same. Nichiren's greatest treatise on the ethical aspect of his doctrine of the Lotus Sutra, with reference to his own mission as well as to his followers' duties, to Nichiren and to Buddha or Buddha-ness, that our practice always holds a debt to the Gohanzon, to the experience of Buddha-ness. That by instantiating Buddha-ness in our lives, we are shaking hands with Buddha-ness without time, without beginning, right? So it's individual effort, but it's never simply for an individual gain. There is that, but it is the gain to the universe, something much larger than the simple self, yeah? That's our great opportunity in this life, to experience far beyond the boundaries of our bodies. All these were completed by the time the first winter in Sado was coming to an end. And with the return of the vernal breezes, the outlook was growing brighter. Quote, do even trees and grasses attain Buddhahood, you ask? Quote, but the truth is, Buddha manifests himself as trees and grasses. In other words, life The process of life is everywhere to be seen. We are but a form. Right? This goes back to understanding formations, which we've talked about many, many times. The whole universe in its essence is nothing but Buddha's own body. Wow. How interesting to read that. How many times have I said that? The Buddha body is the engine of life, the universe itself. And we are not separate from it. We may think of ourselves as separate, but that's ego, self. In reality, we are but an instantiation of that potential. We're all made of energy. The same energy. The same energy that was here when the universe began, when time and space first expressed. Same energies, same quarks, protons, so on and so forth. Fields, tendencies, conditions. It's the language of Buddhism. In these utterances, we can see the cosmological aspect of Nichiren's doctrine, as well as the surroundings in which the words were written down. So we're identifying Nichiren here, and this author is focused on Nichiren, but Nichiren didn't invent this. He's just locking it down because this is what Shakyamuni taught. These are Shakyamuni's teachings, which Nichiren is now putting more modern rules to, not rules, words, because he's defining his own mission and what it's about without forgetting anything about what he's learned in all these years of studying Buddhism about Shakyamuni's teachings. But he's also writing it down so that his future scholars, his disciples, his followers, his students, understand fully what they're doing. Just as Nichiren. Nichiren is our mentor and our exemplar, showing exactly this is the mission. This is the mission Nichiren is taking on. I didn't invent it. And I'm asking you, I'm entreating you to do as I do. Deep reverence to Shakyamuni Buddha, or Buddha-ness beyond Shakyamuni, which is what Shakyamuni was always talking about, right? Now let us see what is said concerning the heritage of the great thing, the great thing, the law. So here's a quote. It's a lengthy quote of this, albeit oddly titled by this author. What I call the heritage of the law, or the heritage of Myoho Renge-kyo, or the heritage of the great thing concerning life and death, is nothing else than the teaching, the lotus, of the perfect truth. For the sacred title of the lotus was handed down from the two Buddhas, Shakyamuni and Prabhuta Ratna, to the Bodhisattva Visishtakaritra, when the Buddhas appeared in the heavenly shrine, the treasure tower. So he's talking about Tahoe Buddha and Shakyamuni Buddha on both sides of Namo Myoho Renge-kyo on our mandala, I'll remind you. By the way, if you're curious about everything on that mandala, you know there's a book available on lulu.com/spotlight/Kwun on the personages of the mandala. Those personages are also available for free on threefoldlotus.com. I think it says personages of the Gohanzon, or mandala personages. I forget what I titled it, but it's right near the top of the core studies page. So you can download a document describing, and it's quite involved. A lot of cold information on that. For the sacred title of the Lotus Sutra was handed down from two Buddhas, right, Shakyamuni and Taho, to the Bodhisattva Jogyo, the Bodhisattva to which Nichiren identifies his own mission with. When the Buddhas appeared in the treasure tower, and from eternity, the heritage has been kept without interruption. So this law established in the story of the Lotus Sutra, in the appearance of the treasure tower, is really the story of the formation of the universe. Don't hear many people say that. But when each of us attains our Buddha-ness, when we chant, when we recite, we are reenacting the very formations of the engine of life. Consider that, how immense that is. Perfect, quote unquote, represents death, and truth represents life. So now he's playing with similes, and perfect truth, birth, death. With every daimoku, we are born into Buddha-ness, and because we exist in samsara, very soon after, we experience a retreat from Buddha-ness with our distractions of the physical universe. But that doesn't have to be a negative. It's a cycle. And when we become in tuned to the cycle, we disconnect. Although it continues, we disconnect our experience of the cycle and perceive it as the engine that drives our Buddha-ness. That's why this land is the Buddha land, right? While life and death make up the essence of the 10 realms of existence, the 10 worlds, right? The essence identical with that of the lotus, all that is born and dies is a birth and death of truth. The lotus is the ultimate reality. Then to utter the sacred title of the lotus with the conviction, always, that the three are one, the three, that is, Shakyamuni Buddha, or Buddha-ness, who from time without beginning has realized Buddhahood, the lotus of the truth, the method for awakening it, which leads all beings, without exception, to Buddhahood, and we beings in the realms of existence, samsara, those are the three. The three again. Dharma Buddha, Manifest Buddha, Reward Buddha. There's those three bodies again. It's very consistent once you break the code, yeah? To utter the sacred title is, therefore, the heritage of the law, the sole great thing concerning life and death. The engine of life. Namo Myo Renge-kyo, Namo Myo Renge-kyo. This is the essential key to the practice, the Buddhist practice life of Nichiren's disciples and followers, namely adherence to the Lotus of Truth. Well, there it is. He laid it out. Whenever Nichiren's disciples and followers utter the adoration of the Lotus of Perfect Truth, the Daimoku, the Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, being united in heart, even in separate existences, my sister's passing away, my mother in the other side of the country, relatives I don't even know in the north, you, I, we're all connected. We're all an expression of this potential, this engine of life. So this is what he's saying. Like the association existing between fish and water, there lies the heritage of the law, life and death. This cycle that we're all playing out. This is the essence of what is promulgated by Nichiren. This teaching of Shakyamuni, this enlightenment of being a verb, is what I, Nichiren, now in this day am promulgating and exhorting you to do as I do. You and I. If it should be fulfilled, the great vow of propagating the truth throughout the latter days over the whole world would be achieved. What an amazing goal. Will the Bodhisattva Jogyo appear in these days of the latter law to open wide the gateway of the truth, or will he not appear? Will I be able to manifest that, embody that personage as foretold in the Lotus Sutra or discussed in the Lotus Sutra? Will I be able to measure up? That's what he's saying. The scripture tells us so. The text of the Lotus tells us so. Yet, will it surely happen? How confident are you? Will the Bodhisattva appear or not? At any rate, I, Nichiren, have now accomplished the pioneer work. I'm setting up the grounds with my very life to embody, to call forth this influence, this propagating vow to Buddha-ness for all sentient beings and the insentient world, a reflection of ourselves, of the engine of life, to manifest fully in this period of time. Whatever may happen to you, arouse yourselves a strong resolve and commit that you may, at the moment of death, utter the sacred title in clear consciousness and with earnest resolve. In other words, not waiting till you die, but what Nichiren is saying is, you should arouse yourself every day to recommit to life writ large, to be amazed, so committed, so resolved, that even should you see death coming upon you, whether it be an accident, an illness, or an attack, whatever form the end of your life may take, you should have the kind of commitment and resolve that the singular thought in your mind as death approaches is the instantiation of the heritage of the law. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Visualize it, know it, commit to it. That kind of resolve. Do not seek besides this any heritage of the soul or great thing or the law concerning life and death. Herein lies the truth of the saying that there is Bodhi even in depravities and nirvana even in birth and death. Vain it is to hold the lotus of truth without this heritage of resolve. You can intellectualize the Lotus Sutra all day long, but if you don't take it to heart as the very essence of the engine of life, then you're failing Buddha, you're failing Nichiren, you're failing yourself. I shall tell you more about this at another time in sincerity and reverence. And he closes. So the author picks up here. Nichiren has passed through many perils and was now going to reveal the kernel of his mission. For whose sake? Of course, for the sake of all beings living and going to live. Present and future, yeah? But his vision was chiefly directed toward the future. Hence, the coming myriad of years, end quote, was the motto of his work. But could that task for the future be fulfilled without a remote cause and a solid foundation laid in the past? Yes, as I said, he was enacting Siddhartha's first mission that led to his own enlightenment as Shakyamuni of this true nature of life. Myoho Renge Kyo, the engine of life. All beings are to be saved. Wasn't that what Siddhartha started out with? Everyone should be able to experience their maximal potential. Not be dragged down by stress, anxiety, even in sickness, in old age. We should always hold that life is so much more. The task is grand and the end remote. The preparation for it must be proportionate to the magnitude of the future accomplishment. The necessary connection between the future and the past is now shown in the revelation of the treasure tower, before which all primeval disciples of Buddhism were summoned and took the vow to perpetuate the truth throughout the coming ages. The link between the past and future is Nichiren, who represents, in this country, at this moment, the solemn pledge of emancipation, and is commissioned to work in the days of the degeneration of the law. Thus, his person is the key to the efficacious working of the everlasting truth, which has its origin in time without beginning and is destined to prevail into the future forever. Onwards. This was Nichiren's conviction about his person and his mission. In order to open the eyes of all fellow beings to this, it was necessary to bring them to the same enlightenment concerning themselves. For this purpose, each must, first of all, know the true relation existing between himself and Buddhahood, or Buddhaness, which is represented preeminently by the Lord Shakya. He was the first example, yeah? And is to be realized in one's own self, the teaching of the Lotus. Just as Shakyamuni attained his enlightenment, his instruction for doing so is the Lotus. He's been preparing for 42 some odd years of his life, preparing people to get to this point. And now, this is how I did it. This is how you also could do it. Just commit. This metaphysical relation between the master and the disciples, between the cosmos and the individual, is the very foundation of all this practice and ethics. Open the eyes to this cardinal relation, then all enlightenment will naturally follow. The cosmos and the individual. I'm not making it up, folks. The universe is something that's been talked about since Shakyamuni started to talk about personages of the universe, types of experience, types of mind, types of commitment, types of delusion, types of distraction, right? All these characters in Buddhism are personifications of the human mind. Ultimately, our attitude, as was just pointed out, influences our intent, and that changes everything. Quote, "There are three objects which every man ought to revere: his Lord, his master, and his parents. There are three subjects which should be studied: Confucianism, Hinduism, and Buddhism." End quote. Thus begins the essay on the opening of the eyes. Again, this program of study of all of Buddhism and non-Buddhists, because it's good to know what you're doing and what is not what you're doing. It reinforces what you're doing, context, right? Thus begins the essay on the opening of the eyes, the keynote, the emphasis on Buddha-ness throughout time without beginning. Buddha-ness is timeless. That doesn't mean it's eternal. That word has a whole lot of charisma attached to it. Like it's something to go find. Buddha-ness is happening in this moment as you consider it, as you chant. That facility that you observe of the process of life in each of these moments is itself the witness of the process which has no time. It propagates time and space, space being time, time being space. The act of potential instantiating happens irregardless. Time and space are just footprints. They're not the thing itself. The emphasis on this Buddhahood runs through all the argument, but the melody varies, just as diverse systems of religion and ethics are engaged in inculcating one and the same principle of reverence to the same objects of veneration. According to Nichiren, the manifold teachings existing are but the varying aspects of the same cosmic principle, the engine of life. And each of those systems represents a certain truth, while errors come from sticking to a particular point of the teachings. The truth is touched, but the whole truth is missed. As squinting eyes, though not totally blind, distort images, the full opened eyes see the truth of the everlasting relationship between ourselves and Buddha-ness, timeless Buddha-ness, in which the Buddha, as revealed in the chapter on the eternal life of the Tathagata, eternal, again with eternal, what is with you? The lifespan of the Tathagata is the Lord ruling over all subjects, the master leading his pupils to maturity, and the father who gives birth to the children. We are from all eternity, from all time span, timelessness, subjects of Buddha-ness, his disciples and his children, being essentially like him through the essential truth. Essential. When seen in this light, every practice and ethical system compared with Nichiren's doctrine revealed in the Lotus is one of the preliminary steps leading up to the ultimate truth. Yet men are blind or squinting and do not see the whole truth in its full light. I think I'm going to stop here. I'm very, very tired today. I apologize. Next paragraph, we're going to talk about Confucianism. That should be interesting. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's very important to our propagation, expansion of this Sangha. Those of you who are able to support financially through Patreon or the PayPal, what is it, paypal.me/Sifu Sylvain. It's a direct PayPal link. Or donations of equipment, candles, incense, whatever. Any kind of support, even if all you're doing is liking and subscribing, is a very valid expression of your bodhisattva practice and helping this broadcast to continue. I will do it with my last breath. Perhaps in time, someone, I don't know, it's a dream of mine that I might have somebody take on the mantle of what I'm doing, come here and practice with me and learn and keep this going into perpetuity. I have no plans for taking it down from YouTube or Patreon or even Odyssey. That's a different kind of Bitcoin kind of running thing. But right now, all my videos also get ported to Odyssey. I think that's at Threefold Lotus. I'm not sure. I'll have to. I haven't talked about that before, but in this last year, I've been curious about this other video platform, and yeah, maybe I should nail that down and give you guys a direct link. But if you look for Threefold Lotus Kun on Odyssey, you'll undoubtedly find the channel is there. It's all the same videos. And also, don't forget the podcasts on Podbean or wherever you get your podcast, the Buddhahood podcast, yeah. In the meantime, we've started off the year with a bang, several. Let's make this year the year of amazement. Let's be amazed with life, our lives, the lives of everyone we encounter. Let's try to hold that thought. Remain in our Buddha-ness, yes? Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't thank you enough. I'm just deeply grateful for your presence and your practice. So please, in that vein, take care of your health. Be kind to yourself. And I fully plan on seeing you in the next video. Okay? Bye-bye for now.